Now we're in the midst of an election campaign well into the 21st century. There'll be social media ads, big data and talk of harnessing new technology to transform the economy and the way we lead our lives. But the way we actually vote hasn't changed for hundreds of years. We still huddle into the polling booth and put a cross on a piece of paper with a little pencil. So is it time to update the technology? And should we be thinking about biometric identification? Well, James Stickland is the CEO of Veridium, a UK biometric tech company that's attracted investment from the likes of the city financier Michael Spencer. James, welcome to you. You really think voters are ready for this?
No, I think voters have to be ready for this. I think there's a huge backlog of challenge around, authentication or identity of individuals. I think the tech's now available, and I think that we're all using our mobile devices and our kind of interfaces for biometrics in an everyday ecosystem. So I'm a big fan of putting it into the voting world.
But, I mean, we have biometric passing booths at airports, and half the time they don't seem to be able to work because the staff aren't very happy operating them.
Yeah, look, I think that, tech is ever evolving, as we know, and obviously the speed in which we can get, technology to stand up to the need of the user is ever under pressure. I certainly think that the mobilised world of biometrics are actually, far more advanced in many respects than some of the standard, pass booths, as you mentioned. So I think there's a huge opportunity for us.
How would this work in practice then? I would just turn up at a polling station and what would it look at my eyes or take a thumbprint? How would it work?
Look, I think they're very, kind of varying degrees of opportunity to do this. A full mobile experience so that, remote users could actually vote rather than, with polling cards. Actually in the booths themselves where people would go in and have a document verified or their biometrics verified against national databases. So I think there's a varying degree of ways in which we can make this executable.
What about social media? You've got some quite interesting ideas on how you would clean that up at election time as well.
Yeah, look, I think that, that's a huge opportunity to really take control of the social media ecosystem. I think there's a lot of, kind of keyboard warriors. Obviously right at the sort of extremism of activity on social media. So I think biometrics, using them to identify and create an identity credential is hugely important going forward.
That sounds quite bureaucratic though, James.
Yeah, well, look, I think there's obviously an area of concern around biometrics and content and where biometrics are stored. And that, for me, is the biggest kind of the position of how we use this in an effective way so that we don't kind of create a big brother approach. But I think social media identifying the individual and taking accountability is a huge must for us going forward.
I mean, you're calling for all this to happen. Are you saying you think it actually will happen in the next 10, 15 years? I
think even sooner than that. I think social media absolutely makes this big jump in the next 12 to 18 months. I think we've seen a lot of this with the privacy kind of policies that people like Brandon Lewis have been putting out there. So I think there's a desire to have authentication.
All right, James Stickland from Veridium, very good to see you. Thanks for joining me.